start of our presentation, first of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction about maritime security. Maritime security is a term that is used for the protection of vessels internally and externally, and it's a framework that clarifies issues in maritime domain that related to national securities. This includes the world's seas, regional seas, territories, rivers and ports. There are maritime crimes identified under maritime security. The first one is illegal maritime migration. Illegal maritime migration came into consideration and attention in 2013 when 366 migrants died in the shipwreck. And the second one is illegal fishing. This occurs when vessels and harvesters operate in a violation of the laws of the fishery. And the third one is cybersecurity breach. Cyber attacks on maritime industry have increased by 900% in last 3 years. And the fourth one is terrorism. There are similar phenomena for both piracy and terrorism, but significant differences can be seen in these two. As an example, terrorism's aim is usually armed rebellion.
So at next we are going to talk about what does piracy means. According to Article 101 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, piracy refers to any illegal act of violence or detention committed for private ends by the crew or the passengers of a private ship on the high seas. This type of robbery or criminal violence is conducted with the goal of stealing cargo and other valuable goods. The economic weakness of the society, the poverty of the society, the joblessness, the large population and the political violence are some causes for happening the piracy. In today's context, the Indian Ocean, the East Africa, South China Sea, South America and the Caribbean are known as the hotspots for the piracy. When we take the activities that pirates are mainly conduct, the suspicious activities, the robbery, the hijacking and kidnapping are some key points. So here onwards, our team is going to talk more about the best management practices that ships and the masters should follow and some key regulation related to the detailed piracy.
Introduction to Best Management Practices. International Maritime Organization has appropriate guidelines aims at addressing maritime security as well as piracy and armed robbery against ships. This includes guidance for government, ship owners and ship operators, ship masters and crews on preventing and suppressing acts of piracy and armed robbery against ships. Best management practices which were developed by the shipping industry outline the appropriate procedures to be employed when responding to act or attempt acts of piracy and armed robbery against ships in specific regions. The IMO support the best management practices which have been disseminated publicly by the organization. In June 2018, the 5th edition of the Piracy Specific Best Management Practice was published, compiling a useful and comprehensive guidance which introduces effective measures for the protection of crew, vessels and the cargo while transiting the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea.
So now I'm going to talk about the threat assessment and risk assessment. When we talk about the threat assessment, which is form of capability, intent and opportunity. So we can see the triangle for that. Capability means attackers have the physical means to conduct an attacks. Intent is demonstrated by the continued attacks, as well as the opportunity is what is mitigated by the company. As well as, so if one side of the triangle removed, including capability, intent and opportunity, then risk is minimized. So now I am going to talk about risk assessment. Risk assessment is an integral part of voyage planning within a safety management system. Risk assessments must consider but may not be limited to requirement of the flag state company, charters and insurers, the threat assessment and geographical areas of increased risks and background factors shaping the situation. Example for that, traffic patterns and local pattern of the life, including fishing vessels activity.
The second best practice is prior proper planning.
Number of piracy attacks along the coast of Somalia has decreased there has been a substantial increase in piracy incidents along the coast of West Africa. As a maritime organization planning to bring in regulation and guidelines to protect from pirates, the first one is updated with the latest happening of the high risk areas, get all the least available information on piracy sensitive areas ship is about the enter. Based on this information, carry out true risk assessment of the vessel to assess the likelihood and convenience of the piracy attack. Second one is the ship security assessment and plan. It is the duty of the company owner to review the SSA and SSP on regular basis under the ISPS code. The company security officer must encourage ship personnel, especially ship security officer.
Update transit corridors in maritime privacy. The maritime security transit corridor is the transit route for all merchant traffic transiting the Gulf of Aden Sea. The purpose of this corridor is to provide a recommended merchant traffic route around which naval forces can focus their formation of the maritime security transit corridor has no effect. Naval forces focus their presence and survival and also able to monitor and provide swift assistance to vessels in distress. The Philippine Department of the Transportation, in order to address the increasing threats to shipping in the areas F. Moro Gulf and Busilan Strait, launched a recommended transit corridor to prevent or suppress acts of maritime areas. Recent attacks against the Philippine Department of Transportation, in order to address increasing threats to shipping in the areas F. Moro Gulf and Busilan Strait, launched a recommended transit corridor to prevent or suppress acts in maritime areas.
We are going to talk about ship protection measures. So in these sections, highly proven the SPM that provide layered protections. Furthermore, in the ship, primary layer of the defense and the secondary layer of the defense and the last layer of the defense is very important. So the first one is we can do the enhanced vigilance. So we can do a lot of kind of activities to enhance vigilance. So most of the ship should implement the various kind of things, such as fully brief lookout in the ship and the maintain sufficient binocular for enhance the bridge team, and the one of developing technology known as the CCTV cameras, and consider about the mount and the privacy mirror around the bridge. Another important protection measurement is the maneuvering. The mast and officers should practice the maneuvering the ship to ensure the familiarity with ship handling and characteristic. So as well as next one of important factor is developing alarm systems. So one of the important point of that is because of the alarm systems, crew members can familiar of the system and they can avoid the terrorist attacks. Also, other important protection method is CCTV camera, because when you talk about CCTV camera cover the whole area of the bridge, so it is a very easy way to establish the protection of the ship. Then when it comes to the lightning, it's also important. So we can use the deck lightning, navigation lightning, and the search lightning to establish the protection of the ship.
Next, I am going to talk about physical barriers coming under ship protection. Physical barriers are for the making it difficult for the attackers to get to the ship. It makes difficult for the attackers to climb the board. There are few physical barriers they can be identified. Next, I am going to talk about other physical barriers. This is also effective. This is about handling swinging obstacle over the gunless. They are specially designed for make it too difficult to come attackers get into the ship.
And the last best practice is update reporting procedures and forms.
You came to access the primary point of contract for the mentioned ships and their CEOs providing licensed military forces in the region. UKMTO as able to communicate with the ships and CEOs directly in order to disseminate warnings and advisors of incentives within the region. The second one is MSCHO. The MSCHO is the planning and the coordinating center for the EU naval forces. MCHOA encouraging companies to register their ships movements before entering the HRA and if participantly in the group transit system.
So at next we are going to talk about some private maritime security companies. These are the companies that giving security to the ships that transport cargo. These shippers can outsource the security services from these companies to acquire the necessary security which is they are needed.
These private companies may offer armed or unarmed services. Before selecting such company, the related parties should consider about some key factors like current threat and risk environment, the output of the company, risk assessment, voyage plan requirements, ships, speeds and freeboard.
And another very important factor to consider here is the shipping company should only employ the private maritime security companies who are accredited to the current ISO 28071 guideline.
Okay, with that now we are going to look at some regulation that has taken to detect. So now I'm going to explain Dispute Code of Conduct. This is also known as Code of Conduct concerning the repression of piracy and armed robbery against ships in Western Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden. This was implemented by IMO organization on 19 January 2019 and under that code all signatories declare their intention to cooperate the fullest possible extent in one regression of piracy and armed robbery against ships. And another one is UNDA Code of Conduct implemented on June 25, 2013 with the purpose of enhancing cooperation and information sharing in the wider Gulf of Guinea.
Now we are talk about ISPS stands. ISPS stands for International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. This include minimum security arrangement for ships, ports and government agencies.
There are few regulations implemented by ISPS to deter piracy. This has been implemented through Chapter 11.2 and Regulation 11.2.3 says administration of the vessel should establish a proper security level, and Regulation Level 2 says standards to make sure that all ships are equipped with the security alarm system, and Regulation 11.2.8 says establishment of the role of the sea masters.
So with that, our presentation is comes to an end. As a team, in this presentation, we have discussed about the piracy which is coming under maritime crime, and we have discussed about some best management practices and the regulation that are there to use in mitigating the piracy threat. Thank you.